Now answer the questions on your screen.
So, moving on. Your discussion of other studies is quite good. You provide a good summary of the studies and surveys on this subject, and you give a good overview of their findings.
Thank you. I thought that part was good too. I spent a lot of time researching and reading into the subject. I found lots of resources online and in the library.
Yes, it's an in vogue subject right now. So you're strong in this section. But what I feel you're missing is some kind of way of comparing the figures that you've found in these different studies. At present, you show the different figures in paragraphs on different studies, but this is a bit confusing. Maybe at the start or the end of this section, you should provide a table where you can present all the relevant statistics next to each other. In that way, the correlation that you identify will be more easily seen.
Okay, I've made a note of that. What next?
Your conclusion. Now, I feel that generally this is fine, but what's missing is that in this type of essay, you need to identify what some of the weaknesses in your argument are. This might be, for example, that some of the surveys and the studies that you used as evidence might be of a limited scope, so that the figures provided might not be of sufficient statistical significance. That's just an example, of course.
That sounds logical. Anything else?
Again, in an essay of this type, you should also identify areas that can be further studied or questions that have arisen from your studies that remain unanswered. At this high level, things like this are expected in the best essays, and so, if you overlook them, this can reflect badly on your essay and reduce its overall grade.
That's great advice, Dr. Mills. I know what you mean. I certainly know the sort of things that should be in my essay with regard to that. So, is that it?
One more thing. I know I've told you to look at lots of different areas, but there's also the issue of your word count. You know the limit is only 5,000 words, and you've exceeded that by 400 exactly in this first draft. It's important that your final draft is on or beneath the limit. Now, it's quite difficult to cut one's word limit down, but the essence of good writing is in the redrafting and editing process. It's normal and advisable to cut your word count down on a second draft by using language more economically. I told you earlier that you were too wordy in your section on the historical development, so that's at least one area where you can cut down on your word usage.
That's fine, Dr. Mills. Of course I had noticed that I was wordy, but I'm sure that I can sort this out for you by the final draft.
Oh, and don't forget your appendices. Check the extended essay instruction sheet I gave you at the start of the preparation process. The instructions will outline all the documents that will need to be there in your final draft. Make sure that section is complete.